business, and businesses of the two countries need to have a closer look to what we call the avenue of cooperation. And what is very important is that business has governmental support. As you may know, Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Belarus is responsible not only for foreign policy, but also for foreign trade and investment. And this support will be reiterated today by the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of Belarus, Mr. Oleg KRAVCHENKO, who is participating in our conference and who will address you today. I'm also very pleased to announce that among the speakers, we have such distinguished guests as the chairman of the Belarusian Production and Trade Concern for Timber, Woodworking, Pulp and Paper Industry, Bellesbumprom, Mr. MIKHAIL KASKO. During the conference, we will also be introduced to other timber industry decision makers, Belarusian manufacturers, and market experts. And now, without further ado, we should start because we in a bit of challenge today since our program being oversubscribed and we have more speakers than we have time. That is why I would like to ask all the participants to make your presentations relatively short and not exceed 10 minutes. And the first speaker is Deputy Foreign Minister of Belarus, Mr. Oleg KRAVCHENKO, a person whom the majority of you might know, as Mr. Deputy Minister has visited both Canada and the United Kingdom many times. We kindly asked the Deputy Minister to give an overall assessment of bilateral cooperation between Belarus and Canada and Belarus and the United Kingdom. And we are really grateful to him for taking the time to join us today. Mr. KRAVCHENKO, now the floor is going to you.
Thank you very much, Evgeny. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings from Minsk. Thank you all for joining us and for your interest in doing business with Belarus. This conference is a good opportunity for our British and Canadian colleagues to get to know us better and to learn more what Belarus has to offer. Governments and businesses alike are interested in understandable and predictable playing field. In this regard, when borders of most countries are closed, we should think about forward-looking strategies so that when an opportunity presents itself, we could quickly restart and propel commercial cooperation between our countries to a new level. This event has been organized in collaboration with our long-standing and trusted Canadian partner, the Canadian Eurasia-Russia Business Association. I'd like to thank Regional Director of CERBA in Montreal and Ottawa, Marina Belskih, for her contribution and efforts to promote today's event, as well as for her readiness to facilitate timber trade cooperation between our countries. I also thank the most influential timber trade association of the UK, Timber Trade Federation, along with the British Expertise International, whose information support in the run-up to the event has been very valuable. As you know, Belarus is a European country located between Russia and the European Union. We have been working on balancing and maintaining good relationships both with our Western neighbors and with Russia. And it could only be done by further diversifying our economic and political ties. In this context, I want to make myself very clear. Belarus is keen to expand commercial and political cooperation with Great Britain and with Canada. With this in mind, I would like to underscore the ongoing positive development of our engagement with your two countries. It became possible due to, first of all, our mutual interest to normalize relations and our efforts to move forward our cooperation and dialogue across the board. We are eager to further facilitate economic contacts with the UK and Canada, including new emerging areas such as joint production and innovation. In particular, wood processing, timber trade, furniture production, and outsourcing are of priority interest for us. Over the last few years, Belarus has invested a lot in modernization of the woodworking industry, and the effort is paying off, both in terms of wood processing and exports of final products. We welcome the progress made by the woodworking industry, whose export in the first quarter of 2020 was $539 million and grew by 6.6% due to increased sales of chipboard, fireboard, plywood, and furniture. What is of particular interest is that non-CIS countries account for over 50% of the exports. I'm pleased to register with you that woodworking accounts for 47% more than any other industry of all investments raised by the free economic zone called the Grodno Invest. This furniture producing cluster was established in the Grodno region of our country. Companies from the UK and Canada are among the largest investors in the free economic zone. Eyes of the Swedish businesses are on Vitebsk region, which is also known for its well-developed woodworking industry. This attracts Swedish companies, and a good example is a company called IKEA. In addition to the industry that's modernized and based on decades and centuries of traditions of the craft, Belarus has another significant advantage: the membership in the Eurasian Economic Union, a regional economic integration project of 5 countries: Belarus, Russia, Kazakhstan, Armenia, and Kyrgyzstan. Belarus is a founding member of the EAEU. This union provides additional benefits for our economy by lifting trade barriers between member states. For investors in production in Belarus, which is close to European supply chains, it provides access to the market of 180 million people. Belarus is ready to become a gateway for the British and Canadian companies to enter the Eurasian Economic Union's common market. Ladies and gentlemen, I encourage you to consider Belarus as your business partner. I do hope that our conference will open new prospects for timber trade between Belarusian, Canadian, and British companies. I take this opportunity to wish you an informative and fruitful event, as well as success in your future business endeavors with Belarus. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Deputy Minister, for your kind words. Indeed, timber business is one of the promising areas for cooperation between our countries. And with this in mind, we invited today such distinguished speaker as Mr. MIKHAIL KASKO, Chairman of the Belarusian Production and Trade Concern for Timber, Woodworking, Pulp and Paper Industry, named Bellesbumprom. This group represents 3 sectors of the economy: wood processing, furniture production, and pulp and paper industry, and unites over 50 largest private and public companies producing a wide range of timber products. This is a non-profit organization and is subordinate to the government of Belarus. Mr. Chairman will address you today and talk briefly about the woodworking industry of our country. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you so much for your time, for being with us today, and now the floor is given to you. Microphone. Colleagues, microphone.
You hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity to say just a couple of words about our timber industry in Belarus. Well, this great opportunity, I have to say big thanks to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Your Excellency, Mr. Lenikov. Thank you very much. We are pleased to present ourselves here tonight. Well, indeed, a long time ago, it was Belarus was well known like a raw material sawn wood supplier, mainly to neighbor countries. But now we have a vast and well-developed, highly quality producers of MDF, plywood, board, cardboard, paper, wallpaper, pulp, and furniture. We as a country are exporting to more than 70 countries, and we look forward to find some new partners and to develop some new contacts. You should also know that total export of wood and wood products from Belarus is more than $2.2 billion and is increasing from year to year, as well as the share of our wood and wood products in the GDP that has raised from 3.6% up to more than 8% within the last 10 years. Further, our participants will take their own presentations about the timber industry in Belarus, and I suggest to follow these presentations and ask as many questions as they will arise to make the picture for those who would like to take the contact with us as clear as possible. I'm sorry for my poor English, but thank you for the attention, and I wish all the participants good work and new contacts that should reasonably become contracts in the nearest future. Thank you very much, my friends.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kasko, for your kind welcoming remarks. And it is with great pleasure that I'm giving the word to the Embassy of Belarus in the United Kingdom, to my colleague, DMITRY, who will kindly present you the trends of Belarusian timber trade. During his presentation, you will be able to get information about key indicators of Belarusian forestry sector performance, legality of Belarusian timber, forest regeneration, as well as timber and woodworking products trade. DMITRY, it is your turn now. Microphone. Microphone, we don't hear.
Yeah, thank you very much for your active participation, everybody. So yes, my name is DMITRY. I represent the Trade and Economic Group of the Embassy of Belarus in the United Kingdom. I was involved in timber trade development with the United Kingdom for about 3 years already, even more. And I would like to share with you my knowledge about timber industry in Belarus. So as for now, I will switch off my camera and start the presentation. So can you see the presentation? Yes? Sorry. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, we do.
Yes. Yes. All right. As Evgeny mentioned, I will present today some of the key topics of Belarusian forestry industry, and the first one is the key indicators of Belarusian forestry sector. Second one is most important, legality of Belarusian timber and certification. Third is the forest regeneration, and fourth is the Belarus timber and woodworking products trade. The Republic of Belarus is an East European country, neighbor of Russia, Ukraine, Poland, Latvia, and Lithuania. The territory of the country covers more than 200,000 square kilometers. The population of Belarus is about 10 million people. Belarus is mainly industrial country with a highly developed industrial sector. The key industries are machine building and metalworking, chemical and petrochemical industries, electric power industry, light industry, and food processing. Considerable forest resources facilitate the dynamic development of forest sector, which now takes about 3% of in Belarusian national economy. Sorry, it's too quick. Okay. Comparing with some European countries, Belarus is a smaller than Sweden, Finland, and Germany and Poland. However, forest land are very similar to German and Polish. And even 3 times bigger than Latvian, which is the main supplier of timber products to the UK. Principles of sustainable forest management are implemented at the national level. National forest programs are based on the balance of economic, environmental, and social interests. All forests in Belarus are exclusively state-owned property and in a state custody. Forestry management is executed by the Ministry of Forestry of Belarus, which is successfully implementing principles of sustainable multi-purpose forest management. At the same time, rest committed to environment protection and renewal of forest funds. Here there are some key indicators of Belarusian forest management from 1994 to 2019. Total area of forest fund in Belarus is more than 9.6 million hectares. Thankfully to targeted forest policy, forest covered lands increased by almost 1 million hectares for the past 25 years. The ratio of forest land to total land area reached nearly 40%, which is maximum value for the last 100 years. General stock per 1 hectare increased by 70 cubic meters up to 220 cubic meters. Average age of planting is increased by 12 years to 56 years. Comparing annual harvesting and annual growth of wood, we have timber overgrowth for about 4 million cubic meters annually. Oh. So Belarus is the member of European Neighborhood Policy Instrument, Forest Law Enforcement and Governance Program. The implementation of ENPI Flag Country Program Action Plan was financially supported by the World Bank and International Union of Conservation of Nature. It's contributed to the improvement of forest governance and legal forest management, strengthening control over illegal cutting, promoting trade and legally produced timber and woodworking products, enhancing transparency in forest sector, creating favorable conditions for the development of small and medium scale businesses in forest industry. Efficient measures are taken to prevent forest fires and offenses. Automatic tracking and forest fire detection systems are extensively deployed. Cameras continuously monitor the designated area and identify the first signs of fire and eventual cases of forest law violations. Key priorities of sustainable forest complex development are sustainable forest management, rational anti-degradation and multi-purpose forest utilization, development of high value added wood products, independent control over compliance with standard of sustainable forest management is exercised through the forest certification system. Now, forests in Belarus are certified in accordance with the requirements of FSC scheme, as well as a forest certification system based on national system of conformity attestation, developed in Belarus and recognized by the program for the endorsement of forest certification, PFFC. Nearly 95% of forestry organizations in Belarus have become FSC and PFFC certified as for today. So the process continues. To ensure legality of Belarusian timber as a raw material, in 2019, Ministry of Forestry has completed development of the real-time monitor system of harvested timber and timber supply chain tracking. The system provides accounting of forest products at each stage of movement, from the cutting area to the customer, taking into account possible storage locations for timber and type of transport used. Now the system is finalizing tests in a designated forestry. All the forests are equipped with the secured, there are some applications that we use to ensure a timber control platform. And the first one is the timber marking unit and mobile phone with application on it. Also receipts printer, and which all the information goes to the one control center. From 2021, all forestries of Ministry of Forestry will work on the single timber control platform. The platform was presented to the Belarusian Prime Minister and the members of government this April during the Work for the Nation Day. Not only as officials, but also personally, all the members of the government of Belarus are highly committed to nature conservation and especially forests regeneration. On the photographs in April this year, you see that the forest and trees were planted by the President of Belarus, Prime Minister and member of government, head of presidential administration, chair of National Assembly, Minister of Transport and Minister of Sport, and I can put many more pictures, but I don't have a space in this slide, unfortunately. So we actually discussed with the leadership of the Timber Trade Federation the possibility to join the Prime Minister of Belarus during the tree planting event this year. But unfortunately, due to well-known epidemiological situation, the TTF was not able to consider their participation this year. We hope that this event will happen in the future when the conditions allow. All the goals of the forestry sustainable management are established in the state program Belarusian Forest 2016-2020. Key parameters have been already achieved, such as average stock of forest stands, the amount of timber harvesting from 1 hectare of forest land. By the end of 2020, we are planning to overcome the milestone of 40% of territory of Belarus covered with forests. To produce selected planting material, the government of Belarus supports 78 forest nurseries across Belarus with a total area over 1.3 thousand hectares. 4 advanced Republican breeding and selection centers were established with support of World Bank, with cumulative investment about $55 million. The main goal of breeding and selection centers is to preserve the valuable gene pool for the Republic's woody plants, increase the productivity, ecological and resource potential of forest based on the development and improvement of the forest seed base. On this picture, you may see how reforested areas in Belarus looks like. So the species composition of Belarus forests are pine with 50%, then birch with 23%, spruce and alder is 9%, oak 4%, and aspen. From 2007, Belarus realized a state modernization program of major wood processing enterprises and building of a new up-to-date facilities aimed at the development of local forest resources and manufacturing of cost-effective and export-oriented products. Total amount of investment reached $4 billion. Nowadays in Belarus, there are more than 2.5 thousand companies which are doing business in woodworking sector. The forest industry of Belarus operated under the ban of export of unprocessed round timber. Ban was established to help growing and developing local woodworking companies. The range of manufactured goods have been expanded to 80 articles. The main trading positions of Belarus are the furniture with a share of about 30% and total sales about $600 million. Sawn wood with a share of 24%, and last year we achieved the biggest amount of volume of trade for about $0.5 billion. And also chipboards, MDF, wooden fuels, plywood, construction wood, and other products. I will just briefly explain about some major export trading positions. And so Hope Wood Pools and Stakes is one of them. With last year, we exported about $9 million of pools and stakes. And the interesting fact that Latvia is the main buyer of Belarusian pools and stakes. At the same time, Latvia is a major supplier to the UK of these products. Sawnwood. In 2019, Belarus exported about 4 million cubic meters of sawnwood. And main destinations were, again, Lithuania was where we exported about 870,000 cubic meters, and Latvia, 630,000 cubic meters. And also Latvia is, again, one of the main supplier to the UK with 800,000 cubic meters of sawnwood. So we can just presume that the many Latvian companies are doing intermediary trading business in Belarus, which lead to price increase for final user, in our opinion. But a good trend, the direct approach of Belarusian companies to the British market. Last year, 70,000 cubic meters of sawnwood were delivered directly to British buyers. Great Britain, from 25th position in 2018, did a jump to 17th position in 2019. We hope that this trend will continue to mutually beneficial business when UK companies can buy cheaper from producers, and Belarusian companies will enjoy sustainable partnership with the UK companies. Chipboards. In 2019, Belarus exported 1.4 million cubic meters of chipboards. The main export countries were Russia, Poland, Ukraine, and a small amount was also directly delivered to the UK. I know that Poland is also supplying chipboards to the United Kingdom, but we do not really consider them as an intermediate trade because they have their own established furniture manufacturer. MDF. In 2019, Belarus exported 125 million square meters of MDF for more than $200 million. The main export countries were Russia, Ukraine, Poland, Romania, Lithuania, and Azerbaijan. Due to the difference of sizes, there were no export of MDF to the Europe and North America in 2019. However, with support of our embassy, Belarusian Forestry company established production of MDF 8x4 size, and now deliveries have started to Ireland. Chief Commercial Officer of Belarusian Forestry company, Mr. AKIM SHPENKOV, who joined us today as well, he will tell more about this opportunity. Plywood. In 2019, Belarus exported 253 million cubic meters of plywood with cumulative export of about $100 million. Main export countries were Poland, Russia, Lithuania, and Ukraine. At the same time, Russia and Poland are among leading exporters of plywood to the UK. In 2019, 1.5 and 3,000 cubic meters of plywood were also exported to Canada and the United Kingdom, respectively. The trading system of woodworking products in Belarus is as follows. Sawn wood has to be purchased through the auctions system at the Belarusian Universal Commodity Exchange. We have speakers from Belarusian Universal Commodity Exchange today who will explain how to buy on auctions, and probably they may introduce to our UK and Canadian partners a good, reliable brokerage company that can trade on your behalf. Pools and stakes can be bought by direct contracts and auctions at the Belarusian Universal Commodity Exchange. Wood fuels, the same, direct contracts and auctions. And panel products such as plywood, MDF, chipboards, insulation boards can be bought by direct contracts with Belarusian Forestry company, Pinsdrev company, EVGENY, and many other companies. All the products are certified based on international system, and comply with the international technical regulations and requirements. So we are open for collaboration and interested in establishing contacts and building partnership with companies from Great Britain and Canada, not only in timber trade, but also in sharing good practice of forest management, exchange in the best planting material, improvement quality of woodworking products, and potential investment. I want to thank you for your kind attention and invite you to continue our discussion to mutually beneficial cooperation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dmitry. Thank you for your informative outreach. Yes, and we are moving on, and we have with us representative of the state-owned company Bellesexport that is subordinate to the Ministry of Forestry. Dmitry, may you switch off your presentation, please?
Yes, I'm trying to do it.
Yeah. For almost 25 years, the company has been promoting sales of Belarusian timber products in the foreign markets and rendering services in foreign trade activity. And today, manager of the company, NATALIA SKITOVA, will present a company portfolio as well as tell us about a range of foreign products that are exported to the foreign markets. Ms. Skitova, the floor is given to you. Please switch on the microphone and you are welcome to speak.
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Yeah, are you hearing me? Yeah?
Yes.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to thank the organizers of this business meeting, as well as welcome all the participants. Today, I would like to introduce timber industry potential of the Ministry of Forestry and biomass production in the Republic of Belarus. Besides, I would be glad to share the experience of Bellesexport in selling sawn timber and fuel wood products in the foreign markets. I will present you the activity of our enterprise. And right now, I switch my camera to our presentation. Yeah, Bellesexport, yeah. Can you see, yeah, the presentation? Oh, no.
Not yet.
Not yet, and right now?
No.
No? Just a minute. Is it okay or no?
No, you should push
No.
screen demonstration.
Yeah, I have не работает. Just a minute. It doesn't work. I don't know exactly what happens. It's not working, yeah?
Yeah, no, yes.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Me sharing the slides, Natalia.
Okay.
Help me whenever I need to change. Yes, I will be glad to do that for you.
Okay, the next slide, please. Forest Fund of Belarus, yeah? Okay, Forest Fund of Belarus, yeah. Belarus's forest sector is currently managed based upon the principle of regular, proportional, and sustainable use of resources. Contemporary requirements applied to forest management are based on the promotion of a sustainable environmental and economic forest sector management system. All Belarusian forests are exclusively state-owned. The total forest area of the country is 9.6 million hectares. The percentage of forest land of Belarus is close to the optimum value. Standing wood reserves are estimated at 1,832 million cubic meters. Most of the forests, about 85%, are distributed among 98 forestry enterprises, which harvested 20.9 million cubic meters of industrial quality timber. The next one, please. One of the achievements of our forest industry is actively developing seed production, which has allowed us to achieve 100% reforestation, at the same time sold through the seeds of our own selection. It should also be noted that almost all forestry enterprises have FSC supply chain certificate, which complies with the requirements of the international scheme of the Forest Stewardship Council. Yeah, the next one, please. Enterprises of the Ministry of Forestry are the main timber procurers in the country, providing timber to all consumers. In addition to logging capacity, the Ministry of Forestry operates processing facilities. In 2019, forestry enterprises processed 5.4 million cubic meters of wood, including 3.4 million cubic meters of industrial wood, which amounted to about 20% of the entire volume of timber harvested in the country. Sawn timber output amounted to 1.3 million cubic meters. The next one, please. The unitary enterprise Bellesexport represents the interest of the Ministry of Forestry of the Republic of Belarus and all 98 forestry enterprises of the Republic of Belarus. It was founded in 1995. The main service rendered by the enterprise is agency activity on timber product sale for export. Bellesexport is one of the major export suppliers of wood products. It sells the following timber products: sawn timber, aged unaged boards, aged sawn wood for packing, coniferous and deciduous species, plain profile timber, rounded and debugged products like wooden poles and household stakes, wood fuel products like chips, pellets, briquettes, split firewood, and forest byproducts like planting materials, birch juice, Christmas trees. Today, Bellesexport is one of the main players in the foreign market. The main export products are sawn timber, which makes up 64.4% in total export volume, and chips with 27.11%. Thanks to the conducted policy and well-coordinated work of Bellesexport and the forestry enterprises, the export volume increases and amounted to about $140 million in 2019. Analyzing the export structure of Bellesexport for 2019, it's necessary to underline that forest products and services of Belarusian forestry enterprises are exported to more than 20 countries. Lithuania, Poland, Latvia, Germany, Belgium, and China are among the main forest export markets. The main export production is sawn timber, which annual volume amounted to 840,000 cubic meters. Sawn timber of humidity 22% and more are usually used for export. Dry sawn timber amounted to 140,000 cubic meters. In addition to sawn timber, enterprises of the Ministry of Forestry produce wooden chips. The total chips production capacity of the forestry enterprises amounted to 1.76 million cubic meters. The main qualitative characteristic of chips are represented on the slide. Today, all chips produced by the Belarusian forestry enterprises are used for export. 6 pellet mills with the annual capacity of 160,000 tons of pellets per year will be launched in the first half of 2020. Right now, 3 pellet mills produce 10,000 tons of industrial pellets, and 1 mill produces 2,500 tons of E and plus pellets monthly. The shipment of all the wood products can be carried out from the wood pellet mills to the port of Klaipėda by railway transport, with further loading onto cargo ships. Thus, sawn timber, wooden chips, and pellets are the main export products of Bellesexport. If you have any question, don't hesitate to contact us via chat. Thank you for your attention.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Natalia. Now we would like to attract your attention to the next presentation, since the main trading platform for timber products in Belarus is the Belarusian Universal Commodity Exchange, and its representatives will share with us e-trading solutions for export of timber products from Belarus. Mr. Novikov, it is your turn now.
Yes, good day, dear colleagues. First, let me say thanks to all of you for the opportunity to present opportunities of our exchange. We would like to explain to you how you can use Belarusian exchange and describe all opportunities we offer to our clients. Alexander, could you please start the presentation? Just a couple of general figures. Could you please do the next slide? Just a couple of general figures. The annual turnover of our exchange is $2.5 billion US. As of now, we have more than 23,000 registered clients, and the main feature of our exchange is that we work only on spot market. So every contract concluded at our exchange should be continued with actual payments and actual goods delivery. Out of 23,000 clients, more than 4,600 are non-resident clients. So, can you, Alexander, please put next slide? Thanks. The geography of our trade activity you can see now on the slide. For example, now we are represented by 6 companies from Canada and 63 companies from UK. On next slide, you can see statistics about the activity starting from the 2014. No, of course, Canada is far away, and I'm sure Canadian companies, they're fully okay with sawn wood and with raw wood materials. So our main target audience are companies from UK and Ireland. The best year for trading activity for us was 2014, and now we are looking forward to return to the volumes of 2014 and to overcome them. And we hope that this conference will help us with this. But anyway, as I saw a list of the companies registered for this seminar, we have now companies from Canada whose interests not limited only with wood, and we are sure that if they will study our website, they will be able to find some other directions where we can help them either to sell something to Belarusian companies or to buy something from Belarusian companies to Canada. We developed 3 classical exchange directions. No, first, of course, as you can see on this slide, is timber. That's more than 40% of our total turnover. Then metal products and agricultural items. Now, coming back to the topic of today's seminar, now my colleague Alexander, the head of International Cooperation Department, will tell you more detailed about our wood direction. Thanks, Alexander. Can you continue?
Thank you, Andrei. Well, can you hear me? Is it okay with the sound?
Yeah, we can.
Well, so I will continue. Greetings to everyone. I would like to continue with the information about our trades at the electronic trading platform in timber sector. It is the biggest electronic platform on our exchange. It covers more than 42%. And some statistics here, according to 2019, first of all. Actually, through the exchange, through our electronic trading platform, for export, were sold more than 7 million cubic meters of timber to 30 countries of the world. During each section, about 100 participants take part from each side. It means buyers and sellers. And 60,000 contracts are concluded on this section annually. What is traded actually in this timber sector? Roundwood gives the bigger volume. 15 million cubic meters of roundwood are sold on this section, but not for export, because roundwood is banned for export in our country. This is the position of the country. So 15 million cubic meters are traded at the exchange, but only in a market of roundwood. Then goes sawn timber, wood chips, wood boards, plywood, paper, cardboard, fuel briquettes, and pellets. And we also sell timber harvesting services on our platform as well. So all spectrum of timber products, all sizes and specifications you can find here. Where this timber goes for export. As you can see from this picture, the main country who buys our timber is Lithuania, then goes Germany, Latvia, and Poland. Well, in 4 months, January, April 2020, timber was exported to 23 countries on the amount of 100 million cubic meters. But as you understand, these companies, and as you see from the presentation of DMITRY SUDAS, these companies are not the main consumers of our Belarusian timber. It goes further on. What is sold through our exchange platform for export? The main product is sawn timber. I should say that sawn timber and wood chips, that it goes on number 2, actually it's the obligatory positions that can be bought from Belarus only through the exchange. Other positions in timber are not obligatory. You can buy it on direct contracts, or you can also find them on our exchange platform. You can see that pallet boards, poles and stakes, and other products were sold for export as well. I have statistics for 2020 for these 2 months on 2 positions, sawn timber and wood chips. Actually, 2019 was very successful, and I'm showing here only this period for 2020 and 2019. Actually, you see that there is a kind of dropping of volumes of sawn timber. The same we can see in wood chips, but actually the reason was the warm winter that all of us experienced this year. And I would like to say some words about why do foreign clients choose Belarusian Universal Commodity Exchange. First of all, as you understood, we provide wide range of timber suppliers, more than 200 big sawmills, governmental and private ones in the Republic of Belarus are accredited at our platform and sell their goods through our exchange. What is more important even now in this COVID situation, we offer our clients distant accreditation and electronic trades. For registration in our system, you don't need to come to Belarus. You do everything distantly. You just need to provide a set of documents you can send us without not visiting Belarus. And all the trades, all paperwork are electronic. All the contracts go electronic. So it makes your life easier and you don't need to make expenditures on visiting Belarus. What gives exchange? You get access to direct transactions without intermediates. So you can receive better, fair, transparent pricing for the products, buying it directly from the sawmills. And our exchange just provides the control for the contracts fulfillment, for transaction fulfillment. We actually have units that are obligatory to control that you will receive the commodity according to contract, and Belarusian sawmills will receive the payment for them, and you will receive it on time and of the quality that was put into the contract. Well, what we practice now, and we know it is very actual for Canada, for Britain, and we actually do it together with our embassies and with our big exporters. Now we start practicing lots traded with logistics. So you can buy timber which will be delivered to your enterprise in whatever. So the price for the logistics will be included into the timber. And now we also practice with Bellesexport lots that are financed by banks. So with banks and creditors. It became very popular, and it's also actual for foreign buyers of timber. Besides, now we practice more and more individual client-oriented approach. We made registration at the exchange free of charge, distant, and we made a call center. So we will provide all the information for the clients that want to join us with the market situation, Belarus price quotations. We will show how to accredit it at the exchange and how to participate in the trades. You can do it directly. All the companies can register directly, or they can use broker services. We have a list of brokers. Actually, DMITRY SUDAS just said that we could recommend some brokers to you, but actually I will not do it now because actually it's better to give information of the brokers who practice foreign markets, including Canada and Britain. I will provide this information on your personal request. We are moving forward, and at the end, I would like to introduce you a video. We made a system allowing foreign clients of our brokers to see the trades, to participate in them as an observer in English. So it will be useful for our foreign clients in the UK and Canada, and I would kindly ask Marina to show this video from her office. Thank you.
Belarusian Universal Commodity Exchange provides its clients with an electronic platform for trades of timber products. Our exchange rules allows our clients to participate in the trades in two ways: directly. In this case, a company needs to receive electronic digital signature. It can be done distantly, or through an exchange broker. As the timber trading system is in Russian language now, we made a step forward to our English-speaking clients to make it more accessible and obvious. We would like to introduce an English language monitoring system for the actual trading sessions for English clients of an exchange broker. Before or during the trades, a broker provides its clients with a login and a password. A client gets an access into trades as an observer through a personal account. After that, he needs to choose an appropriate trading session. Section timber and session according to its number. Here we have 3 inlays, unsold lots. It's all the bids that are in the system now. Each of them a client can open and see in detail. All the characteristics of timber and contract conditions. Traded lots. It's the bids that received an offer from the clients and the auction started with this particular lot. Unsold lots. The bids that a broker has bought for its client. For clients' convenience, a filter can be used. This monitoring system allows an exchange broker client to supervise the lots that can be interesting for him. For the future, we plan to develop the whole timber trading system into languages, Russian and English, but it requires some time and resources. But we are already working with it. Thank you.
Sorry.
Actually, that's all what we wanted to tell you about electronic trades for now, not to take too much time, and we are ready to discuss it with the questions or later on. Thank you very much. Have a good work.
Yeah, thank you so much, colleagues, for such useful and informative presentation. I believe that people will find it interesting. And now we are moving on, and with understanding that timber business is not only timber products, but also services, we invited to our conference today a Belarusian company that renders support for experts and experts of forestry and timber products from Belarus around the world by providing quality shipment control services. And now CEO of the company named BelForestSurveys, Mr. EVGENY LIPEN, will present its portfolio. EVGENY, now it's your turn.
Thank you, colleagues. Okay, let me turn on my presentation on the screen. Okay. Can you see it?
Yes.
Great. Okay. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to participate in this event. As you have already learned from the presentation of other Belarusian speakers, Belarus has an abundance of forest resources and the rich experience in their sustainable use. However, the manufacturers of timber and other related forest products from our country are not maybe as well known as their colleagues from the Baltic countries. For example, in terms of quantities, Belarus produces and exports more timber than Latvia, one of the Baltic states. And at the same time, Latvia is the second Belarusian export market for these products. The UK is the first export market for timber from Latvia, while the UK takes only 25th place in the Belarusian timber exports. In practice, it means that the middlemen from Latvia, Lithuania, often resell Belarusian products to world markets with very good margin, without even minimal processing. So the mission of our company, BelForestSurveys, is to ensure a fair distribution of profits from the supply of products from Belarusian forests to world markets by providing of modern trade support services to the Belarusian producers and buyers in destination countries. So this slide shows the products of Belarusian sawmills that are in most demand on international markets. In Belarus, such products are mainly produced by small and medium-sized sawmills with an average production capacity of up to 1,000 cubic meter of square timber per month. So, in fact, this is the main reason for the low representation of Belarusian timber brands in the markets of such countries as the United Kingdom. Such sawmills usually have no experience in communicating with foreign customers, and for this reason, they sell their products to Baltic middlemen on ex-works or FCA terms. State-owned sawmills usually demand 100% prepayment and the acceptance of forest cargo only at their warehouse in Belarus. Small and medium-sized private sawmills from Belarus sometimes cannot ensure the sustainability of their production due to the lack of finance or low production discipline or some problems with the procurement of quality saw logs. Besides that, big players of international timber business may experience some difficulties understanding the procedure of procurement of Belarusian timber by the Belarusian Universal Commodity Exchange auctions without an experienced broker. So our team understands the weak points, and at the same time we realize serious unclaimed potential of the Belarusian forest industry. So we act as a link between Belarusian producers and buyers in the country, so the final customer of Belarusian timber. Most of our existing customers demand package services, including market research on the specific inquiry, search and due diligence of suppliers, quality and quantity control during production and loading, freight forwarding, and stevedoring in seaports. Besides, our additional services include participation in Belarusian Universal Commodity Exchange timber auctions, financing obligatory advance payments to the state-owned sawmills, arranging additional processing of timber such as grading, planing, anti-stain treatment, green treatment, kilning, etc. And to meet non-standard inquiries of our customers, our engineers consult and assist the sawmills on acquisition and setup of necessary woodworking equipment. Quality and quantity control are our most popular services. All our inspectors are highly experienced. They are regularly trained and retrained in specialized education institutions to comply with ISO 17020 standard for the inspection bodies. I would dare to say that our inspections are much more affordable than similar services of our international competitors like SGS and Veritas. And at the same time, we are more targeted to timber business. In practice, what our customers really appreciate is that our experts not just record and report, but also they ensure that the defects are corrected by the producers so that the right material is timely dispatched to the customer. You may have a look at some of the timber defects that our inspectors reveal and correct every day. I'm sure that certainly you wouldn't like to be dealing with something like that at your warehouse in Canada or in the UK. So we are determined to expand our customer network in the UK and Canada. We are ready to share our expertise in doing business in Belarus, as well as our broad business connections. We look forward to getting your inquiries and becoming your reliable partner in Belarus. Thank you very much for your attention, and be free to contact us for any possible inquiries. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Evgeny. Now we are moving on, and the last but not the least speaker from Belarusian side, Mr. AKIM SHPENKOV, Chief Commercial Officer of the Belarusian Forestry Company. It's export-oriented operator of Belarusian timber and wood products, who will make a presentation of the products line, which nowadays are supplied to over 40 countries, with Canada and the United Kingdom included. Please, Mr. SHPENKOV, the floor is yours.
Hello, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Just a few seconds, I will start my presentation. So my name is AKIM SHPENKOV, and I am Chief Commercial Officer at BFC, Belarusian Forest Company, which is a part of Borwood Holding. With the next few slides, I would like to introduce our business to you and to describe all our products briefly. Borwood Holding consists of 4 divisions: managing company itself, and our own logging company, which provides all the production units with wood raw materials. It is quite important to mention here that it helps us to avoid illegal harvesting and to be a responsible company and to provide sustainable management of country forests. Next, production division, which consists of 9 production units all over the country, producing a wide range of products to satisfy market needs as much as it possible. And in the end, sales and supply division, where I belong. Here we are responsible for direct materials purchasing for the plants, which are chemicals such as resins, urea, formaldehyde, and melamine films, etc. And sales, all the produced goods, paying maximum attention to satisfy the customer's needs, to provide all this high customer service and understanding all the markets of presence. Next slide is about our product range. I have to say that all products have necessary certificates, such as FSC, of course, ISMAT, CVV, etc. And looking ahead, I would like to say that all the boards could be produced with formaldehyde emission as E1 and half E1 as well. First product in the range is MDF or AGDF boards. It could be thin, sanded and laminated with a thickness from 2 to 30 millimeters and several sizes. The main sizes are 2440 by 1830 millimeters and 2800 by 2070 millimeters. And the average density is about from 600 to 800 kilograms per square meter. MDF boards are produced on several production units with overall capacity about 500 million cubic meters per year. The next product is plywood. It could be moisture resistant or film faced. Plywood production capacity is about 250,000 square meters per year. And the main 3 sizes are 1525 millimeters by 525 millimeters square plywood, and 2,500 by 1,250 millimeters with the thicknesses from 4 to 30 millimeters. Then goes road chip boards and MFC boards. Annual production capacity is about 250 square meters per year, and our regular thicknesses are from 10 to 38 millimeters. With the regular sizes, 2,440 by 1,830 millimeters. And the next one, laminated chipboards with a regular size of 2,750 millimeters by 1,830 millimeters. Regarding MFC boards, I would say that more than 70 decars are possible. Wet fiber boards. Annual production capacity is 10 million square meters, and the boards could be painted with white or beige colors with a thickness from 2,5 millimeter to 3,2 millimeters, and the regular size is 2,745 by 1,700 millimeters. The next one is sawn timber. Edge sawn timber, we produce regularly about 250,000 per year of cubic meters. Sorry, it is made of pine redwood and spruce or white wood. Could be kiln dried or natural humidity. It could be different sizes and lengths with the quality according to customers' requirements. A lot of plain profiled products are also available upon requests. The next slide is about laminate flooring. It could be standard thickness of 8 millimeters on the basis of HDF board with a wide variety of decors and surface layer with imitation of different types of wood and stone and so on. Annual production capacity is 14.5 million square meters per year. Next one is wood fiber and insulation boards. It is an effective thermal and sound insulation product. It helps customers to ensure high level of energy efficiency of the buildings. Here we can see the picture about the advantages. It is protection from heat, from cold and wind, and it makes comfortable microclimate, and it is fully resizable. Next one is glue boards or edge glue panels. It could be solid or finger jointed, made from pine. So the total production capacity not so big, but it is about 6,000 cubic meters per year. Our other products are briquettes, wood chips, mostly coniferous species, and matches. Our briquettes are made out from wood waste and from dust after grinding plywood. We produce approximately 5,000 tons per year. Wood chips. As I said, they are mostly coniferous wood species, and approximate yearly volume is about 200,000, sorry. So matches, I'm not sure that is too much interesting for Canadian and United Kingdom market, but I have to mention it about it also. The last but not the least, our slide is about furniture production. We produce furniture for bedrooms, living rooms, offices, kitchens, and so on. The furniture could be made out of MFC chipboards and also from solid wood, pine, birch, and oak. If you have any question, don't hesitate to ask. Here's all the contacts, and thank you very much for attention.
So thank you so much, Kim. Now the Belarusian part is over, and Marina, we are starting the Canadian part of the event.
Yes, Evgeny, and I'm very much excited to do that. I see you too. You are enjoying to present proudly the achievements and all the power of Belarusian companies, and me too. I'm very proud of those that are now with us. So I should say that we started to get a response from actually many companies. There is a strong interest to Belarus among software companies, biofuels, biodegradable plastics, personal care products, and industrial chemicals. So as I understand, this is value-added products, and maybe we will continue in those directions. I should also, before even presenting Canadian companies, I will say big thank you to Ms. Karolina Zheniak, who is a trade commissioner at the Trade Commissioner's Office of Canada in Poland and Belarus. She gave me a big help. I was looking for the greatest person in Canada to present briefly the achievements that Canada made within timber industry. And this is Karolina who found such a person. So I present you Peter Moonen, National Sustainability Manager, Canadian Wood Council. So again, if you would ever try to find the best person, so Peter, here he is. So Peter studied marine biology, zoology, and forestry in the University of British Columbia, and has used that science-based foundation as a technical communication specialist to advance a better understanding of food products and the forest sector. He has more than 30 years experience dealing with regulatory, environmental, sustainability, and operational issues. He's a National Sustainability Manager of the Canadian Wood Council, which is based in Vancouver, a technical and knowledge transfer organization which provides free technical support to designers, contractors, building and fire officials, owners, and regulators to build a strong wood culture in Canada through education, training, and awareness. Peter, so please, you are very welcome. And whatever I didn't mention, because the list is very long, please say whatever I missed.
First of all, I'm not the best person. There's lots of people who know a lot more than me, and I say that because I'm finding the more I learn, the more I realize I actually don't know very much. But thank you very much, and thank you to Karolina. So I'm just going to swap here. Okay, have you got that?
Yes, we see the slide.
Okay, so thank you very much, and welcome to all of you. The Canadian Wood Council is based in Ottawa, but I get to live out in the west coast of British Columbia. So I thought what I'd do is, rather than talk about some of the trade issues or trade opportunities, I talk about the general opportunities for wood. One of the really wonderful things about working in the wood industry is that it is collaborative when it is competitive. So I say that because what we do is we may compete together where for the market of other materials and to expand the opportunities for wood. And then once we get people into the wood room, that's when we may compete. So I tend to look at this as a collaborative approach, not a competitive approach. So the Wood Council is a technical support organization. We're over 60 years old, and our job is to help people understand how to use wood. Our services are free, and we deal mostly with architects, engineers, clients, contractors, etc. So what I'll try to briefly cover today, and I know that there's another speaker, and I'll try to hurry through this, give you a sense of what's happening that is changing the markets and the opportunities for wood. So we're all familiar, especially those in Europe, you're all familiar with some of the very large sawn heavy timber structures that are still standing. We have a few in Canada, but because Canada is a much younger country, and Vancouver in particular is only 130 years old, our buildings are based in timber, but they're just not as old. But there's been a shift in how we use wood, and it actually makes better use of wood. All of these products here are engineered wood products. They can be made using typical dimension lumber, and they have an environmental benefit too, because they extend the use and the efficiency of the material that we extract from the forest. Converting round wood to rectangular wood can be inefficient, but when you've got products like these that can make much higher use of the timber, it's a good thing. There's a couple of others as well. Dow laminated timber, which is a European product. We have a company in Canada as well, and mass plywood panels. All of these basically, and cross laminated timber, all of these have an opportunity to displace other materials. And that's one of the opportunities for wood. These are some of the locations where mass timber is produced in Canada. Our forest lands are about 300 million hectares, 350 million hectares. And I'll get into some of the certification aspects there. But what are some of the influences that are moving to mass timber? Well, what you see on the left, there's regulations, there's construction capacity. I'm going to go through each of these quickly because each of them has an opportunity for which mass timber can be a solution. So from the land-based perspective, we often talk about sink, sequester, and substitute as the value of wood in construction, but it actually starts with sustainable forestry. That picture is just about 200 meters from my house. I live just west of Vancouver in a small town. So the sustainable forestry is critical, and I was very pleased to see that Belarus has a very high level of certification. And I'm not trying to boast because it's purely a matter of size. Canada has a requirement in its Forest Products Association that you must be certified. So we have most of our forest lands that are available for harvesting, and a lot of them that are not available are still certified. So we have about as much certification as the next 7 or 8 countries combined. But we're very proud of that, and I think it's really critical when we're specifying wood to specify the certified wood. But there's also been a very significant effort by the Natural Resources Canada and the Canadian Forest Service to evaluate the opportunities for carbon accumulation in the forest. And it's a model that other countries are using. So that's also something which I think is critical and is an advantage for heavy and mass timber. So the next sort of carbon aspect is the operational performance of buildings. Everybody, I think, in Europe has energy codes, which are a bit stricter than we have typically had in Canada. But our building codes are changing to recognize that the use of energy is a critical factor in reducing carbon. It's also the aspect around life cycle analysis, and the embodied energy of buildings and materials are also being incorporated. And they're in legislation in Europe and in North America as well. I talked about embodied carbon. That's the amount of carbon that gets emitted to produce a product. And it is increasingly becoming a factor in decisions by architects and engineers. And it's one that puts us at a distinct advantage over other materials like steel and concrete. This is a chart that was developed by the University of Washington. It's looking at the carbon capabilities of forests. Normally, a forest, that's the blue line there, is the amount of carbon that a forest absorbs. After a while, if you consider forests and trees like the population in general and people, we start off small, we get big, we get tall quickly, and then we get big around the middle. And then as we age, we start to die. It's the same with the forest. So after a while, the amount of carbon is stored in a forest is stable, but it's stored in a fewer but bigger trees. However, we can change that storage capacity by starting to use wood products that will store the carbon over a long term. So the forest is a carbon sink. What we store in wood is sequestered carbon, and what we substitute for other materials are avoided emissions. So there's the carbon story around wood. And this is an incredible opportunity for mass timber and wood products because it avoids the use of the emissions of carbon from other materials. Life cycle analysis as well. If you look at a building, as our energy performance increases, then the relative proportion of the embodied impact of our building also increases. So when you have a very high performance building, your embodied emissions can be higher than the part that you are regulating by your energy code. And this is an LCA from Australia, which shows just that. Embodied carbon is greater than the carbon that is influenced by the building code. To give you another example, there's a tool in Canada that it has been used to guide people to understand how materials make a difference. A steel floor, steel concrete floor, for example, this one was evaluated. It looked at all of the components, concrete, steel deck, girders, and the rebar, and it came up that a 36 square meter section that does a certain job has 1,633 kilograms of emitted carbon. The wood function, doing the same job in the same type of building, the same square footage, has 276. So if you consider the difference, 1633 and 276, you can see that, hey, maybe a wood option, whether it's mass timber or trusses or what have you, has an opportunity to displace higher impact materials. And this was also reinforced by the IPCC in 2007, that we need more forests, more wood from that forest, and more wood from those forests used in long-term buildings. So embodied impacts, as you can see from here, when you start the building, all of the impacts before you turn on the first light are embodied in that building. And over time, you get an accumulation of operational impacts so that over 80 years, you can have a percentage that's perhaps 15% or 18% embodied, and the rest is operational. But that changes because we don't always let our buildings last for 80 years. So the next phase, energy use and high performance. In Canada, we've got different provinces have their own energy codes, and the National Building Code is in place as well in different provinces. And energy use is important. And that's where mass timber can also play a role. This is a project, I'm going to see it actually on Monday. It's a mass timber, passive house, restaurant, and office complex in North Vancouver. So it has very, very high energy performance. And all the panels are using mass timber and are prefabricated just about a mile away or 1.5 kilometers away from the building site. So it's a very efficient way to erect a building quickly in a confined space to high performance and using wood. The higher level performance also changes the relative impact of embodied. You may use a slightly higher portion of materials, but after the same amount of time, 80 years, you have displaced the impact so that you have about 54% embodied and 46% operational, but it's still over 1/3 less than a conventional performing building. So the opportunity for mass timber and carbon is really an advantage. The other area where things are changing that are advantages to mass timber are tall wood. Codes around the world are recognizing that wood has the capability of going into taller structures. But that is based on the fact that we have engineering. We also have chemistry, resins, etc., that allow for strong material. But it also is having a thorough understanding of the advantages of heavy and mass timber in a fire situation. It chars on the outside. There is a certain amount of wood that is retained for structural strength, and that allows us to develop a building that gives people, if they're in a building, a chance to get out without the building collapsing. So that all the understanding around fire has been a huge research project for the industry around the world. It's very collaborative to look at how mass timber is affected by fire. The next thing that is really happening is the opportunities for heavy and mass and light frame timber to be used in prefabrication. And there's several factors driving this. One of them is that there is a shortage of trades. In British Columbia alone, where I live, there's 33,000 trades jobs that will be going wanting by next year, and over 300,000 in Canada. And I know it's the same in many European countries. People don't want their kids to go into construction. They don't want them to be in trades, and yet it's a critical factor for us in the construction material sector to have people who are skilled in those. Otherwise, buildings don't get built. So the opportunities for wood are immense, because by prefabrication, you have better quality of material, you have better quality of wall assemblies and buildings, it's more accurate, and you can consolidate that labor in a central spot. That also affects the productivity. Globally, the construction sector is not terribly productive, but by having use of heavy and mass timber products, we can increase the productivity by increasing the efficiency in almost a transformative way, as opposed to just an incremental way for wood products and structures built out of wood. And I'll get into that in a sec. The other thing that has really changed is wood product technology, whether it's in the technology of evaluating the growth and success of our forests, or in harvesting, or in processing, evaluating the logs as they go through sawmills. As I mentioned earlier, the resins and the chemistry that enable wood to be bonded together to be a strong material, or in the design and energy modeling and building modeling and earthquake modeling and fire modeling. All of that technology is giving us a better understanding of how wood can play a role in construction. As well, we've got the capability to machine wood to very tight tolerances, which is essential if we're going to have high performance buildings that are airtight and thermally efficient. I can't imagine the picture on the left. I can't imagine trying to cut that by hand. That took about 2 minutes to produce on a CNC in a CLT plant in Finland. Finally, why do we build? Most of the cities around the world are undergoing a growth. There's a densification that is happening. A lot of cities have existing infrastructure that they don't want to tear down. So any buildings that do get torn down are typically ones that are going to be what we would call infill construction. We want those buildings to be high performance. They've got to be taller. These are opportunities for wood. And wood also, in addition to being able to be taller and being high performance, is a less expensive way in many parts of the world to build. So housing is a critical factor, and that's a tremendous opportunity for prefabricated wood systems. These are a couple of projects that are going in Vancouver. Vancouver has an affordable housing agency that requires that buildings report their embodied carbon impacts, as well as be high performance. So these two projects are taller wood buildings that are being designed and built for affordable housing in a denser downtown area of Vancouver. So where else can mass timber take us? This is a 12-story building on Vancouver Island in a smaller community called Langford. It is an all-wood building, and it was chosen because it was the most cost-effective way. And cost-effective in a materials, a structure, a system, and a time. It's much faster to build. The tall wood building in Vancouver at UBC, 18 stories, took 9.5 weeks to erect the structure. That was about 4 months faster than a typical concrete structure. When you bring all that together, the carbon benefits, the environmental benefits, the density benefits, the prefabrication benefits, this is the kind of project that you get. Just adjacent to the previous community of Langford is Esquimalt. This is a 12-story prefabricated mass timber passive house building, which after 100 years is carbon negative. when you consider the carbon that's sequestered in the wood, the energy efficiency of the building, and the fact that in British Columbia, we're very fortunate to have 98% of our electricity being hydroelectric generated, means that this building will have a negative carbon footprint for 100 years. Elsewhere in Canada, we have projects that are going up using different structural systems. And this building on the right is a hybrid system. It's mostly wood, but there's a concrete core, and it's 35 stories. And it's just going through the development process right now. So these are all opportunities for the wood sector, for the mass timber sector. And it's going to depend, success will depend on the collaboration of the knowledge of what is possible with wood through different countries, whether they're in Europe, Asia, Australia, North America. By collaborating on what's possible for wood, we can shift the discussion to wood and its materials, and then we can compete and collaborate locally. So I often get asked the question, why would I build with wood? And 20 years ago, I found myself defending forest practices and the use of wood. And then I started thinking that it's really not why wood. But if I was to invent a material that is all of these things, it's a carbon sink, it's renewable, reusable, recyclable, it cleans the air, provides oxygen, gives us a great material. Maybe the question that we should be asking is not why wood, but if not wood, what? What are we going to build? We're not going to use wood and get all of these benefits. What are we going to use that is better? So if you have any questions, if anyone would like to, if you don't get a chance to ask a question, please feel free to email me. I will provide a copy of this PDF to Marina. I sent her a link, so if you'd like to download it, it's just a black and white PDF of the presentation. Thank you very much.
I like this feature in the Canadian character that even being good enough, they will always tell that they know nothing, and they are always learning from each other and open to collaborate. Peter, thank you very much. And I'm sure that this is the right direction, and we start to see the new opportunities. So we have just 15 minutes left. And you see, I was aggressively, I would say, calling for Canadian companies to come and explore opportunities to collaborate with Belarusian. EVGENY was doing the same on his side. We do have, I'm speaking now about Belarus importers for you. And so we will share this contact information. I should say that there are 3 speakers that would like to speak, but we will only have chance to listen to Doug Jones, the Senior Vice President, Solutions and Innovation of Remsoft Inc. And the 2 other speakers, Mike Parlow, with his expertise in individual tree inventories for forestry, and Mr. Matthew Dickey, with his expertise forest road planning and engineering. I will provide the contacts and they will send me their presentations. Okay, this is how we will proceed the next week, the next move. So Doug Jones from Remsoft, this is a leader in software for forestry. Doug, please come.
Thank you, Marina, and thank you for the opportunity to present to you all today. I'm going to share my screen now. Marina, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, I'll go full screen here. All right. Well, again, my name is Doug Jones. I'm the Senior Vice President at Remsoft. I've been with Remsoft for almost 20 years now, and I've worked in the forestry space for over 25 years now. And we're going to take a bit of a turn from the other presentations we heard today. And I'm going to focus more actually on the forest, and we're going to talk about managing that forest. And we're going to jump right into this and tell you a little bit about Remsoft, who we are, the solutions and technology, a couple examples, case studies that I think are relevant within your context. And I don't think we're going to have time for Q&A, but my contact details are there at the end if you want to learn more. So let's quickly talk about Remsoft. Well, Remsoft's really been in business for almost 30 years now, and essentially we are providing software solutions for the management and planning of the timberland assets. And if you look at our core focus, it is on about focusing on sustainable forest, sustainable management of timberlands, but at the same time, also maximizing the performance and productivity of those timberlands. So getting the most out of that asset. And how do we do that? We've been providing optimization solutions, so using deep analytics for the last 30 years, giving those folks who are responsible for managing those timberlands the best of breed analytics technologies to build out plans that are actually maximizing that asset. And it's managing the forest from all the way from the forest down to the mill, to the full supply chain. I'll get more into that later. Our team is comprised of developers, 23 developers in the .NET web developers, plus also a number of forestry professionals that have worked in this world. Again, we've been working in space for 20 years. We've been very privileged to be having our solutions being used across the world. Clients range from the classic forest companies, integrated forestry companies that are responsible for timberlands, to timberland investment organization, pension funds who are investing in forest as an alternative asset class. More importantly, and more relevant to, I think, this audience, is that working with governments as well. A strong focus in software for us is definitely on R&D, because as we've been in business for 28 years, the problems that people are dealing with today are different every year. There's new obstacles, there's new situations, the climate has changed, the markets have changed. So we're always having to adapt our technology to make sure that we're meeting the client demand. We've been working, again, across the world, 150 plus clients in 15 different countries. Our head office is in Fredericton, New Brunswick, which is on the east coast of Canada. We also have a subsidiary in Brazil. And billions of acres, are over about half a billion acres managed worldwide using Remsoft technology. Just to give you a glimpse in terms of the types of users or clients that are using Remsoft technology around the world, they do range from the diversified or integrated forestry companies. But also important is that we do have a number of state governments and provincial governments. So all the provincial governments across Canada are using our technology, 8 US states, and actually 4 US states in Australia, largely to drive out long-term strategic plans that maximize and balance the values of those forests, both from the economic and the social and the environmental side of things. So how do people manage the forest, and what approaches do they take? And essentially they're taking a hierarchical planning approach to forestry. So it's setting out, and I'm not going to go through each of these stages, it's kind of a talk on itself, but it's about setting the course strategically and looking at things long term. So I see the average rotation age in Belarus is somewhere between 50 and 60 years of age. So what a strategic plan means is you're going to actually forecast your forest for probably 90 to 120 years, a couple rotations. And when you're doing that, you're setting the course. What am I going to do? How am I going to change that forest? Are we going to reduce, we're going to go to a smaller piece size? Are we going to do different silvicultural things? Are there ecosystem benefits or biodiversity values that we need to strive for? So forest conditions. So you are setting the course for the forest. Moving downstream again to tactical modeling. So you're really setting those priorities and what are you going to do in the next 5 years? And then closer to the ground, it's more executional. So what's important about all this is that Remsoft provides the optimization solutions and cloud solutions for management and control across this full planning horizon. So you can go from that long-term perspective right down to real-time management. And what's really critical about this from a management point of view is each of those different planning levels are all integrated and talking to each other. So one level informs the other, and that's critical because if you're not doing things on the ground that your strategy said you're going to do, then you're not going to eventually meet the strategy. So very quickly on solutions and technology. Again, Remsoft focused on advanced analytics. We have optimization planning platform, and really it allows our users to do end-to-end forest planning, it allows deep scenario analysis. It allows essentially them to find the best solution given their business objectives and their constraints. And from that, that's where they're going to get maximizing productivity and performance of the forest. They're going to see solutions that they would not have seen in the past, and that or any other means. And I got an example of that through a couple of case studies. We're also in the space of supply chain digitization. Simply meaning is that we have a solution that connects all of the people, the processes, the technologies for managing the forestry supply chain in real time. And this is critical today because there's a major gap or major obstacle in the forestry world where all of this today is done. Essentially, it's not connected. The people and the processes and the technology are not connected. So we're making decisions today and we're not informing the others. So we have a solution in place that connects all of those pieces together so that people are managing their supply chains as effectively as possible. And more recently, we've moved into the space of MRO asset management. That's maintenance, repair, and operations. And this is through an acquisition of another Canadian company. And they're in the advanced analytics world. And essentially, they're maximizing the reliability and performance of manufacturing assets by managing the inventory. So making sure you're driving down the costs of inventory. So making sure you don't have too much inventory on hand to make your manufacturing process work, but also having the right stuff on hand to make sure if things are going to happen, you can replace it right away. And that's another area of expertise that Remsoft is focusing on. So again, a lot of it is focused on advanced analytics solutions. It's all about adding business across the value chain. And just to give you an example of the type of solutions and across the forestry chain, if you look at that forest and landscape level, it's valuation and appraisals. There's a tremendous amount of investment in timberlands today. So the ability to value and appraise those timberlands is highly important. Harvest and wood supply planning. Peter gave a great presentation about the mass timber aspect and the benefits of using mass timber. It's in that carbon sequestration. There's a massive benefit of using timber in those places. But again, even from managing your forest from a carbon perspective is critical going forward because it can be a major sink of the carbon and helping us in the climate change world. And of course, managing for forestry certification. Moving closer to the ground, you get into sales and operational planning, capital investment and budget planning, tactical harvest scheduling and risk management strategies, down to operational things such as materials management, operations management, and supply chain logistics. I'm just going to move on to the case studies, just to give you a couple examples. You heard a lot today, actually, in comparison in terms of export markets and importing via Latvia. Latvia is a pretty significant timberlands, and they got a very significant supply chain in the timberland business and forestry business. We've been doing business with Latvia, the Latvia state government, on the business side for the last, for about 10 years now. And the Latvian state government manages about 1.6 million hectares. They're harvesting about 5 to 8 million cubic meters per year. Very diversified product mix, 40 plus products, very sophisticated and diverse supply chain with 150 destinations. And they're regenerating about 15,000 hectares per year. So a little bit smaller in scale than Belarus, but very similar. They came to us 10 years ago because they knew that as on the operations side, they knew that there was problems in their supply chain. They knew they could be more efficient. They knew they were missing value. And so they could not match the production and sales. They're chasing wood everywhere, so they're making reactive decisions because of supply deficits in their supply chain, excessive haulage and harvest costs because of that, and they're unable to meet sales commitments and costly residuals because of that. So with an optimization solution put in place and optimizing that whole supply chain so they can move to a more proactive environment, they were able to increase their transportation cost savings by 1.2 million euro per year. Contract fulfillment went up 9.4%. Less waste reduction by 17%. So basically, they're able to making sure they're harvesting the right stuff at the right time and not having to downgrade material. And much more high visibility in the supply chain to be able to make better decisions and better negotiations with their contracts. So a very big improvement for LVM. They now have implemented solutions for strategic, tactical, and operational planning across the board. Last piece I want to speak about from a government perspective is that when we work with the state governments and provincial governments for long-term planning initiatives, it's really about sustainability, and a lot of it is about balancing the trade-offs between your economic and your environment and ecosystem values. And Washington State on the west coast of the United States has about a million plus hectares of state forest lands. The Washington State DNR is the department that's responsible for managing those forest lands. They're in an interesting position. They have to manage this sustainably on an ecosystem way, but they also have to produce revenue for schools and universities and other trust foundations. So producing revenue is key for them. They produce about $270 million a year. That's an old number now, but it's more today. And they're doing this through providing timber sales. Now their challenge is that they have a very liberal-minded people on the West Coast, and they are the citizens. They own the public forest, and so there's a lot of responsibility on the state foresters to develop strategies that balance all of those legs of the stool, that being the economic, environment, and social. So they have to build these strategies. And on the coastal forest lands, they had an interesting predicament where timber revenue is key, but they also had to supply marbled murrelet habitat, and that was legislated by law because that was an endangered species. Now those two things conflict with each other. I need old growth for the habitat, and I can't cut old growth for the timber revenue. But through optimization and using planning optimization technology, they were able to find a strategy where they could actually produce the benefit of putting forest actions in place to produce the future condition of the habitat and producing more habitat into the future by 28%, but also increasing NPV today by 8%. So they found a win-win opportunity to actually, that they could take to the board and get approval for the management plan. And that's where optimization can help in those instances. So that's a quick overview in terms of Remsoft and what we do across the world, how our technologies are managing the forest. And I just want to say that everything's been focused on the manufacturing side today, but the forestry side today is also critically important. And you consider that the manufacturing costs, the input material, that being the fiber, is running about 40 to 60% of your cost. It's critical that you can drive those costs down, and you're going to drive efficiency down and make you more globally competitive. On that note, I'll pass it back to you, Marina. So thank you again for your time.
Thank you very much. So we have the last words to say. I will say thank you to members of SURBA, and here on the slide you see members of the chapter in Montreal and Ottawa. And I'm doing that proudly because the association survives. I don't like to say these words, but lives, okay, with the opportunities companies open. So, and this event is really that. SURBA is doing that now with the assistance of our partners. I'm also thank you Antoine Parent. He was researching all the Canadian companies, their emails and phone numbers for me to reach them. Evgeny, do you have a few words to say at the end? What are we going to do?
Just a few words. Of course, I have. I want to thank to everyone who took the time to join us today at our conference, and we as the embassies of Belarus in Canada and in the United Kingdom, we are very glad that that interest in establishing direct contacts between the two countries, between the businesses of the two countries is growing. And I just wanted to urge everybody, please consider the Embassy of Belarus in Ottawa. And I'm sure that the Embassy of Belarus in London as your window to the market of another country. And should you have any questions, any requests for assistance, any concerns or any other ideas, please feel free to contact us, because we are located here in Ottawa and in London to serve you and to facilitate establishing new contacts and or discovering new opportunities. So thank you once again to everyone for participation in our event, and please take care and stay healthy.
Evgeny, thank you very much. So I think for a beginning, for the first start, it was a good opportunity to get connected. I'm sure that you will be sending me your strategies of how further penetrating the markets of Belarus or backwards here in Canada. So let's discuss that and plan what is our next step within the timber industry of Canada and Belarus. Thank you very much. The recording will be provided to you shortly, and we will be discussing further. Thank you very much again.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.